Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me today. Fond du Lac Literacy Services is a nonprofit and a proud agency of United Way, dedicated to helping adults in our community develop essential skills in reading, writing, math, and speaking English. We are located just upstairs in the Fond du Lac Public Library. It's an ideal place where knowledge and curiosity thrives. Our students come to us with many unique stories, but all of them share one thing, a desire to build a better life for themselves and their families. At Literacy Services, volunteer tutors work one-on-one or in small groups with adults who want to improve their everyday tasks, such as read a prescription, write a letter to their child's teacher, speak to a healthcare provider, or understand how to manage their finances. These tasks may seem simple, but they are life-changing when you have never had a chance to learn them. Over 90% of our students are English language learners, and the majority of them are Spanish speakers, people who have taken a brave step to starting a new life in the United States. Imagine landing in a new country with a different language, unfamiliar laws, and no clear understanding of where to find help. This is the reality of many of our students. Fond du Lac Literacy Services aims to ease that transition by equipping the people that come to us with tools that they need to participate, to connect, and to belong. So let's discuss a little openly what that means to our Hispanic community. The Hispanic population in Fond du Lac and across the country brings with its richness of culture, family, traditions, and hard work. These are individuals who raise families, support local industries, and contribute to strengthening our neighborhoods. However, many face real barriers to accessing the services and opportunities that exist. We often forget that many of these individuals come to us with degrees, skills, employment histories. They are teachers, engineers, small business owners, healthcare providers, and the list just goes on and on. They are not their accent. They are not just learners. They are individuals whose stories and strengths and goals and strong goals they have. But there's a big challenge that they face, and that's trust. In the Hispanic culture, trust isn't easily given, and truthfully, the hesitation is earned. Many have experienced injustice or exploitation both in their home countries and in the US. So many when we say to them, we're here to help, we must back that up with the understanding, patience, and consistency. And what I've found to truly build that trust in the community, we must do three things to start. Understand the community, recognize their lived experiences, see them as individuals, not just as immigrants or English learners, but as a whole person. Know the services that they need, things like housing, employment, food security, are at the top of their list. And often they need help navigating that complex systems that are tied to those needs. And then delivering the message with trusted voices. That means working with bilingual leaders, churches, schools, existing relationships. We cannot simply just distribute flyers. We must actively engage with the community in Spanish and foster genuine relationships. Here's one small but powerful story. We recently worked with a student who needed his ID so he could apply for his work permit. But in order to get his ID, he had to bring his USCIS, which is his immigration documents, to the DMV in a different county because our local Fond du Lac DMV wouldn't process what they needed because it was just out of the ordinary, something that they weren't familiar with. He didn't have a driver's license, he didn't have transportation, and he didn't speak English well enough to advocate for himself. So he came to Fond du Lac Literacy Services, and with our support, we were able to make the calls, find a route for him to be able to obtain his document that he needed, which he did, and that helped him get one step closer to employment, stability, and dignity. This is what literacy looks like. It's not just reading and writing, it's belonging. Not just language, but connection. Not just tutoring, but transformation. It's someone applying for their first job or getting a promotion at work, talking to their child's teacher without a translator, understanding a medication label for the first time, studying for U.S. citizenship test, or preparing to earn their HSED, GED, or to take that next step in advancing their career. I have given the citizenship test. I've helped somebody study for that many of times, and I still can't remember all of those 100 civics questions that they have to do. And when we're done with the course and they know them all, I still have a hard time with it, so it's not a small task. So if you're wondering how you can help, I'll leave you with this. You don't need to be a teacher or fluent in Spanish to support this work. What you need is willingness to listen and learn and believe in the potential of others. We provide the training, materials, and support for all of our tutors and students. Fond du Lac Literacy is funded through local donations, community fundraisers, and grants. Our next fundraiser is actually October 7th for our Scrabble Bee event that we have at Whispering Springs. And we are a small organization, but doing significant work. Every dollar makes a difference, so your support, whether it's volunteering, participating in our fundraisers, donating, or simply just spreading the word, helps sustain our mission and keeps our services free for those who need them the most. I brought some information with me today, so if you're interested in getting involved, please see me afterwards, or if you know somebody that our services may benefit, please feel free to take some of the information I have, ask questions, or connect with me after the service. And thank you so much for your time and for being a part of this faith community that values justice, equity, and compassion. And thank you for letting me share our mission.
Thank you, Juana. It's very, very enlightening. Now we will welcome Hiram. And as mentioned, he's originally from Mexico and has lived here, though, for many years. He studied architecture at the university level and also attended a technical school in the automotive field. He's married to Rosa M. Gayton and has two daughters, Paula and Amy Rabadan. He's the oldest of four siblings. He's been a resident again since March 2001 to the present day here in Fond du Lac. He's also has always been drawn to helping and assisting others. He is especially grateful to the people who have offered him support. And serving others, whether through his profession or some type of community service, is something that brings him great satisfaction. And those who know Hiram can attest to that. And he is also the owner of a facility here in town, which is an auto repair business that has been open from 2008 to the present, serving the community. He also serves as the president of the Fond du Lac Morning Rotary, which I know some members of Open Circle are part of, and including some past presidents as well. And he's serving in that capacity this year. And he also takes part in a few other boards, I guess in all his free time. Voices de la Frontera in Milwaukee, and the Latino Entrepreneur Network also in Milwaukee. So we are grateful to hear from Hiram.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Thank you for who know me were able to show up this morning. Most of the time, I understand that, first of all, somebody told me I don't have to apologize, but in a certain way, I do apologize in advance if I mispronounce a word for you. It's not my intention to offend you at all, but 20-some years, I'm still learning English, okay? So I appreciate your patience. I understand that sometimes we have to come more prepared. I really admire people who do that, but I'm sorry. From my perspective, I like to share my perspective to you guys instead of just putting something together. I have my notes to remind me what I'm supposed to go through. Why I'm here, you know, the way I see it is I believe in destiny. I don't know why I end in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and I did promise my wife that we were supposed to be here for just 6 months. and it's been almost 25 years. You know, I find in this community that for some reason I can do something. And sometimes for someone as Juana share, it is a little difficult or hard to adapt. But fortunately, we are in that process. We're still in that process. Sometimes or most of the time when I have the opportunity, I ask this question though. Do we have any Native Americans here? I know, yeah, I saw you. Other than this lady, do we have someone else as a Native American? Thank you for being here, and I really appreciate that. What I'm saying on my point is, the rest of us, we are all immigrants, okay? We come over to this country from different backgrounds, and well, we try to adapt. My point is to share with you also that doesn't really make a difference from an immigrant from this country was found back in the years, you know. Some people came from Europe, they decide to establish, they grow out this beautiful country and all that stuff, but they were immigrants, okay? What I'm saying, it doesn't really make a difference from an immigrant, from the past, or an immigrant from this century who is just trying to seek, like the past, a better future for your family, trying to do better, trying to provide food on your table, that type of things. When I share something, I'm going to include, of course, my perspective as a Hispanic immigrant. People who's willing to leave behind everything, people who's willing to probably sadly lost their lives trying to cross the border, people who, because we know that people even lost kids or children when they're trying to do this journey or to come over to this country. Sadly, I don't want to go into politics, but it is so hard not to talk about politics right now. You know, I don't want to even my intention never is going to be, like I said at the beginning, to disrespect you. And when people is inclined to a certain political party, I do respect that. But my intention it is, I had a question once, and Daisy, you asked me that question. Hiram, why are you in that spot? Why are you decide to take over to be a president of the Fond du Lac Money Rotary Club? Why are you, let me tell you why I tell Daisy. When I'm in front of a microphone, I like to take advantage of that, you know, trying to educate others, trying to share the perspective of an immigrant person. When I came over to Fond du Lac in 2001, as I share in my short biography, I supposed to be here as a tourist. I didn't went through the hard journey of some other person, undocumented persons, but I feel the same. You know, I belong after 6 months that I promised my wife that we were going to go back to Mexico. I decided to stay, so that convert me on an undocumented person after my tourist visa expires. So in a certain way, part of my journey, the way I see it or I feel it, has been that I feel that I broke the law or I break the law back then. And I said, well, in a certain way, again, I use the word a lot from my perspective because that's what I'm sharing. I like to justify what I did, and I like to help. I like to serve. I like to justify, like I say, if I break the law. So it's been, my daughter was born here, Amy. Do you know by chance what the DACA program is? Yes. Okay, so my older daughter was brought up here, and it was her choice, you know, it was my choice to not ask her to, you know, we kept it here, let's put it that way. So she's a DACA recipient, she's a nurse, and she works here at the local hospital. And that's what she likes to do, even being a DACA recipient. What I'm saying, I don't want to bog you too much with my personal story, but Amy was born here in Fond du Lac, and we were undocumented family or mixed status family for 22 years. She has to be 21 years old to be able to sponsor us to become legal residents of the United States. So it's been almost a year and a half since we become legal residents. Again, why I share this is just to give you a better view of what we have to come through. Some people will say, well, why you need to go back to your country and come back the legal way, but there is no legal way. It's, the immigration, ICE, or whoever takes care of these, agencies, know that I was here for these many years. They will just reject my entry, again to the States. So, and some people don't understand that. Why I joined the club, the Rotary, I was invited like now to be a speaker at this club, and I didn't know about what the nonprofit world looks like. I like to help, assist, and serve as much as I can according to my reach. Now that I joined these other nonprofits, we know that we are able to reach farther, to embrace more, and do more changes. And that's why I said this is my kind of like my perfect fit. I was invited at the club to be a speaker, and of course, I'm going to touch this topic. I've been a huge advocate from the community, within the community, about the driver licenses for undocumented persons, because it was my situation. And I'm saying it was because a year and a half ago, I was able to get my own driver license. Sadly, unfortunately, if it was mentioned that I belong also to a board, Voces de la Frontera. For people who has a chance to go through Voces, it is a pro-immigrant organization based in Milwaukee. And then they did assist me when I went through an issue with my driver license, driving without a driver license or driver card. Back in 2007, people was able to get their driver license without even, showing like you are a resident, of the states, in this case, Wisconsin. But then I believe in 2007-9, it was when the real ID was implemented. So everybody has to show like proof of that you're a citizen of this. Sadly, that turns down people who was able to get the driver card to be, of course, able to get it. And long story short, I went through an issue with stop, my first ticket. Second ticket was in 2009, first one, second 2011, non-racing, non-going through stoplight, non-drunk driving. They just, and believe me, police departments, and I'm not saying nothing about that, they are enforcing the law. I'm not saying nothing about them. They're doing their job, which is okay. But they can just run your place, of course, and it's their job, and they can find out that a person is not a driver license recipient, so, well, you get pulled over and you get a ticket. Like I said, I don't want to go through the whole details, but that happened. I had to go to court, and they say, well, the judge said, you don't have to drive. It's fine. Being so cautious, like most of the people who understand that we are not in a home country, we need to learn the different laws or try to, go through properly the laws. And was again in 2017 when I get pulled over. And I'm not talking about years, trying to be careful and not to do anything wrong. I was pulled over again because another car rolled my plates, and they, okay, sadly. Again, I had to go to court, and they said, okay, well, it's not about most of the people. I'm grateful to say that most of the people is working. We are here. We are already driving. Of course, everybody who can be able to get a driver license, they will get a driver license. Sadly, it is not the case. By the way, there are 19 states in the nation who allows undocumented people to get their driver licenses. I can let you know quickly, which is under Washington, D.C. It is California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, D.C., Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, and Washington State. We wish, as on my free time, like someone says, I'm part of the Coalition for Safe Roads, which is under the umbrella of Voces de la Frontera. So we are trying to encourage people who is willing to assist us to, of course, to educate others and try to invite them to be, again, going a little bit through the short line of politics. Um, if we want to change the law, of course, that we have to approach our, like the constituents, the other party, the other side, legislators and senators and that type of thing. And of course, like I've come by myself, and you know what, we are a need. By the way, also, we are part of the labor force. And sadly, we do take care of jobs. No offense to no one, believe me, but people is not willing to do certain type of jobs. And there's where immigrants fit to take care of this need. In a perfect world, I just talk with my wife or speak with her, like saying, okay, you know what? The atmosphere, politic-wise, with uh, the actual administration is not the greatest right now. And I just, on top of my head, I asked my wife what it would be if they accomplish the goal of trying to deport every single immigrant out of the state, the undocumented immigrants. How they gonna fit that need? How they gonna, I mean, it will be on the consumer, or the regular consumer. And again, not the rich people, of course, they're not gonna suffer of that stuff. They would probably will be willing to pay whatever increase on prices will be, if something like that happens. Sadly, it is a broken immigration system right now. It can be easier as, try to do an immigration reform with a path to citizenship, but sadly, it is not even in the near future. I don't really see it near, and sadly, it is the beginning of this administration, and we just wish like things turns kind of better for the community. When you guys have a chance, if you don't mind, you can just Google Voces de la Frontera. It's a pro-immigrant pro-immigrant right network, and we are based. I'm saying we are based in Milwaukee, but because I'm part of them, but we are chapters, and not the whole state or every corner, but when I am in front of a mic, like I said at the beginning, I like to educate others. Some people say, you know what, I'm sorry, chief of police approached me once. I'm so ignorant on this conversation that I'm amazed what you guys have to go through. And I said, you know what, the same way we don't like to use in our community the word illegal, I hate the word ignorant. You just need to be educated. And you just need to know more about the conversation. And the ignorant and illegal are two words that one I use, but just to try to educate others that we don't like them, and I think as to show respect, we can use a different, you just need to be educated. You just need to know more about what is going on. And well, I already shared that the 19 states plus the DC, they're part of and sadly, I don't know how much but sadly there are certain states that even on their welcome, like welcome to Wisconsin, I'm glad to share that it's not the case here in Wisconsin, but certain others are saying welcome to X, Y, or Z state, but not illegals, welcome here. And sadly, that is happening like right now at this moment as we speak. And it is sad once I share like the need or in the chain of workforce, what we do, and we are pretty much everywhere. Let you name it, the cleaning industry, construction industry, restaurant industry. We are pretty much everywhere, farm industry. We, being part of the Coalition for Safe Roads, we gather here with the Chief of Police, Aaron Goldstein, and the Chief Ryan Washmead, which is the Sheriff's Department, and some other what is called business owners, dairy farm owners, cheese factories, and a few. I'm not saying that it was a crowd like this, but one of these farm owners, he says, you know what, I'm here because I really care about my employees. I just want to know what else can we do. And he even said, and that stick with me, because he says, we really have as a business owner the resources just to move to a more friendly immigrant state. We do have the resources, but we want to stay here, okay? And that's why, and let me tell you what, we know that already, but he shared that from his point of view. Without the immigrant labor, our business will collapse. And it's not just mine, it will be with the whole state. You know, it will be crucial that we find a way to try to assist these people, you know. So again, another board I belong to also is LAND, Latino Entrepreneur Network. Why it catches my eye? Because this person, which is my accountant in Milwaukee, he built this nonprofit because he wanted more, in my case, I'm a immigrant, Hispanic immigrant business owner, and we do provide our dues like taxes, real estate taxes, all that stuff. I'm gonna make a parenthesis, I don't know if that's the proper word. You know, the actual administration, you know, when they say something like they're rapists, the drug dealers, there are a few, and I'm not saying this the wrong way. The bad apples are in every culture and every skin color, you know, and it can be true. Probably yes. Sadly, that's the truth. I'm not hiding anything, but doesn't mean like all of us we are the same. Okay. So the other thing I just want to bring up is that they're coming to take your jobs, and it's not what they are selling. The hardest way on my end is to understand people who believe that. Why you believe that, ZA? See, if somebody asks you to eat bleach because you're going to clean your, you know, gods here and you're going to do it. It's not the case, sadly, you know. Well, they are not paying taxes. They're not doing this or that. Okay. So we know that the administration, and again, no offense to no one, but they are asking the IRS for the list of undocumented people to target them. Okay, if you were selling that we don't pay taxes, why are you contacting the IRS? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it makes sense to you, and thank you for understanding what I'm saying, but like I said, sadly, there are many, many things going on, and well, I will ask your support in a certain way that it's just like sometimes trying to educate others. In my something else to share. It's also like Hiram Fond du Lac. Somebody asked me, you know, when I didn't have my green card, you know, I said, Hiram, I'm worried about you. And I said, why? Because you are becoming a spotlight. You know, you're making too much waves, you're making too much noise, you're making too much, you know. And I says, okay, but if I don't do it, who's gonna do it? Okay, and I said, well, now that I'm part of, back then it was part of Vision, a United Way, and I'm, yeah, a partner. Founded Harmony Rotary Club as a member. You name it. I was involved in a few different nonprofits. Do you know, like, if I don't have your support, are we just freely going through the road here? No, I know that you guys will back me up if something happens. Well, she says, I just want you to take care. Like I said, if I don't do it, who's gonna do it? And I'm so glad to share this conversation. At least one last thing I will say, if you guys learned something tonight or this morning, share it. Share with your, you know, sons, daughters, if you have a time. And I know that there's some other more important topics to talk about it, but if I plant a little seed on you, like, okay, let me think about what we will do. Who's gonna pay for, like I said, for prices, increasing the prices and products and all that kind of stuff. Sadly, it's kind of happening. And I know that there are many other things in the world to be worried about it, but again, from my own perspective, I'm glad to share this to you this morning. And if you have any questions, please don't. We're gonna try to stay a little after and try to answer your questions. And thank you for your time. Thank you. By the way, this International Rotary team is Unite for Good. Let's see if we can unite for good to do something within the community. Thank you.